Hi guys, I'm Haaziq from Calcey Technologies, and today I'm going to show you how to add a custom SSL configuration for SendGrid link branding. So the reason I decided to do this tutorial was, as you know, Google Chrome no longer allows downloading content that is served via insecure HTTP connections, which means that if you are using SendGrid and you're using the link branding feature and you have download links in your email, say for a CSV file or a PDF file, clicking on these download links will no longer download them. So let me show you why this happens. Alright, first let's see what happens without link branding, and I'm going to use this example application which I created using React and Express, which will send me a link, send me an email with a link to download an Excel file. Okay, let's click on this button and let's wait for the email. Okay, we got the email, and let's click on this download link. As you can see, the download was successful. The file got downloaded, and let's check this URL. All right, it's SendGrid.net, and it's already HTTPS, which means this is secure, and Google Chrome trusts this source. That's why it's letting us download this file. Let's enable link branding and see what happens next. For link branding to work, you need to have your own domain, obviously. So I have my own domain called Haaziq.me, and I'll be using Cloudflare as my DNS host. So let's go to SendGrid, click on settings, and click on sender authentication. And if you scroll down, you can see the link branding section. Click on get started. Here you need to select your DNS host. In our case, it will be Cloudflare, and you have like so many options for you to select, and I'm gonna select Cloudflare and click on next. Here you need to enter your domain. So mine will be Haaziq.me, and if you click on advanced settings, you can provide your own subdomain as the branded link. So otherwise, if you don't provide a subdomain, SendGrid will create one for you, and it will be like a randomly generated string, which will not look pretty. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to check this, and I'm going to give a subdomain. In this case, I'm going to give it URL. So it'll be like url.haaziq.me, and I'm going to click next. So it gives me two DNS records that I need to add to my DNS host. So I'm going to go to Cloudflare, and I'm going to add these two records. Both are CNAME records. So I'm going to go into Cloudflare and click on add record. In this type drop down, select CNAME. For the name, we're going to copy this name field and paste it here. And for the value, we're going to get the SendGrid.net and paste it here in the target field, and make sure to remove the proxy and keep it as DNS only, because it might cause issues with the verification process. So I'm going to remove the proxy and click on save. And again, let's create the next record, and I'm going to select CNAME here, and let's copy this name and copy the value, paste it here, and remove the proxy and click on save. All right, we've created both DNS records here. So let's go to SendGrid again and check on this checkbox. It says I've added these records, and let's verify if these records have successfully added. As you can see, it worked, which means that the DNS configuration part has been successful. So let's try sending an email again and see if the link branding has worked. All right. It's not. Okay, let's give it some time. It might take few minutes for this to take effect. I'm gonna delete this. All right, let's try again. Click on send email. All right, let's inspect the URL. As you can see, it says url.haaziq.me, and let's click on this link. All right, nothing happened, nothing downloaded. That's because it's not HTTPS, which means the browser doesn't trust this URL. It's only allowing us to download if it's HTTPS. So what we can do to make this URL HTTPS? Before moving further, there's one very important thing to note, that is the sender's domain should match branded links domain for link branding to work. Otherwise, this will have the default SendGrid URL, which is HTTPS, and it'll do the download, but it won't have the link branding. So that is very important to keep that in mind. Okay, let's move on to the next step, in which we'll make sure that this URL is HTTPS. If you go to SendGrid's documentation for this, if you Google SendGrid Custom SSL, you can go to this link, and you have a few steps that you need to follow. But the thing is that this documentation is very poorly written. It's really hard to follow, especially if you are a new developer. So I'm going to take you through step by step and show you how to set this up. So basically what we need to do is we need to create a proxy. We need to set up a proxy server to take traffic from the subdomain we created, url.haaziq.me, and forward that traffic to SendGrid. And also we need to obtain a certificate for that domain and set up HTTPS. So first of all, what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up a proxy server using nginx. I'm going to be using nginx, and the basic idea should be the same for Apache as well. So anyway, so the first thing to do is remember the first two CNAME records we created. We'll have to remove one of them, and it's this one with the subdomain, because we'll be needing to create an A record, not a CNAME. But if you're using an elastic load balancer, then you can keep the CNAME and just change the target to your DNS name of the elastic load balancer. So in this case, I just have an IP, so I'm just going to delete this record, delete, and I'm going to add an A record, which stands for address. And here I'm going to use our subdomain, which is URL. And for the IP address, I have this EC2 instance setup, which has this application hosted. So I'm going to use this server as our proxy server, and I'm going to use this server's IP address, which is this one. And if you want to get your IP address, you can, the public IP address, you can just type curl https :/ and ipinfo.io/IP, and it should give you your public IP address. I'm going to copy this, I'm going to paste it here, and you can save it. All right, now that you have added this A record, let's go to our server and let's clear this up. I'm using Ubuntu here, so our virtual host configuration files for nginx will be stored in etc nginx sites available in this directory. So we'll create a new configuration file. So sudo touch. Let's give the same name. It doesn't matter. You can just give any name you want. All right. Let's edit this file. And I'll be creating a basic server block to capture HTTP requests. It'll be listening on port 80. you're wondering what this is the IPv6 notation. And let's give the server name directive. This will be our URL. So url.me. And for now, just let's save this and exit out. And let's symlink this to the sites enable folder. So as you know, for nginx to work, we have to create a link between the configuration file in the sites available folder to the sites enable folder. So let's navigate to sites enable folder and let's create the symlink. So the command for that is sudo ln-s, and we are linking a file from the sites available directory, and the file is url.haaziq.me. Let's check if the link has worked. Yes, the link has worked. So the next part is we need to obtain a certificate to make a branded link HTTPS. So for this, I'll be using Let's Encrypt, which is a free certificate authority. And to enable HTTPS for a domain, to obtain this, I'll be using a free open source tool called certbot. I've already installed a certbot on this server. If you want to install, you can just type in this command. This command, so would have to install python 3-certbot-nginx. I have already installed this. It's a pretty straightforward installing process. So once you installed certbot, you can obtain the certificate by typing this command. So let's type sudo certbot-nginx-d, and let's give our domain. So url.haaziq.me. Oops, I made a typo there. It should be nginx. You can see it's going through the process. For this HTTP1 challenge to work, you need to have this set up here. Otherwise, if you're trying to just obtain the certificate without setting this up, it won't work. The challenge will fail. So here is certbot is asking whether it needs to take care of the redirection. If you select 2, it will just set up the configuration file. So let's give 2 and let's see what it does for us. All right, so in this import node section, it's actually giving us the path to the certificate. So if you just want to note it down in case if you forget, but it's always in this Let's Encrypt directory and under your URL. All right, let's go to sites available again, and let's check configuration file. So as you can see, certbot has created another server block for us, which is the HTTPS block. It's listening on port 443, which is the default port for HTTPS. So it has also set the server name, and it has modified our HTTP block to just redirect to HTTPS version of the website in case if it comes here. So let's check if this works. Let's exit out and just type url.haaziq.me. Oops, I forgot to restart nginx, obviously. Sudo service nginx restart. Let's check if this works. All right, it took few minutes for the configuration to take effect. As you can see, the site is loaded, and you can see this lock icon here, and if you click on it, you can see it says connection is secure, which means that we have HTTPS now. So if you are continuing to see these delays, it could be due to the proxying of Cloudflare. So you might want to turn this off and see if it works. If not, maybe just go to SSL and TLS settings and try playing around with these options here, and even maybe just turning off universal SSL altogether. So you might want to try those options if nothing works. Alright, so now the HTTPS seems to be working fine. There's another configuration we need to make in the nginx config to make sure we are forwarding all the connections we are getting for url.haaziq.me to SendGrid. So let's see how we can do that. So let's edit the configuration file again. And we'll be creating a location block with a /. So let's create it here. Location /. So the / means that any request that comes to this block will get matched here. So all the requests basically. So inside this location block, what we need to do is we need to add a directive called proxy pass. So what this does is that every request it's getting will be forwarded to whatever URL we are supplying here. So in this case, it'll be HTTPS SendGrid.net. Alright. So there's another directive we need to set, and that'll be the host header. So SendGrid.net needs to know from where this request is coming from. So for that, let's set the header proxy set header, and it'll be the host header, and the host header will be our domain. So url.haaziq.me. Make sure to add your semicolons at the end. So that's it for the nginx configuration. Let's save this, exit, and make sure to restart nginx service. Alright, that's it. So now that everything is done from our end, unfortunately there's no straightforward way for us to test this. One of the ways is to just take the URL and change the HTTP to HTTPS and see if the file is being downloaded. If it downloads, it means the request is successfully being forwarded to SendGrid. So let's try that now. So let's send another email. Copy the link address, paste it here. You can see it's the HTTP, and change to HTTPS, press enter. The file is downloading, which means it's successfully getting forwarded to SendGrid.net. So the next step is to let SendGrid know that we have done our configuration from our end, and please enable HTTPS on your end. So for that, you can just click here and can log in and contact support. Here you can contact support and can just say enable SSL or yes for link branding and continue, and they'll hook you up with a representative, and you can just tell them that you have done the configuration from your end and they need to enable HTTPS from their end. So they'll take a day or two for them to run a few tests on your account and see if everything's in order, and after maybe 1 or 2 days they'll enable HTTPS for you. So yeah, I hope this video helped you solve at least some of the issues you were facing. If you have any questions, feel free to drop a comment and I'll do my best to answer them. So yeah, happy coding. Bye bye.